What is going on, you guys? It's your boy, the archived artisan here, and we are back with episode 98 of the video game therapy series. I hope that was the right number. Maybe 97, I'm not sure. One of those numbers. But yeah, anyway, it can feel weird as I guess as a participant in technological innovation these days because I've been thinking about it more. Again, I have kind of Luddite tendencies, so I realize that I circle back to this point often, but it does seem that technology advances always incur some kind of artisan cost in the sense that there is always some very niche skill that gets outskilled or becomes very useless and no one cares about it anymore. Something like that. Let's see. Oh, it is 98. And yeah, I guess there's a recent thread on Hacker News, and I kind of hate that I'm talking about something I saw because I try to keep things abstract, but it's about like this. The TLDR is that there's a lot of these are all over the place too. Like you've seen audiophiles, people that are super into like the niche audio part, or like there's all kinds of people that have these very very strange, weird, deep fixations with something. Well, apparently this guy was like this, I guess, professional like piano tuner critic or something, and was speaking a little bit about like how maybe they could develop some kind of piano tuner machine that would do like 80% of his job. That's not really the important part of the job, but the point was that for pretty much anybody, I mean, probably except for that guy and other people that were also professionals, nobody cares about like the trivial little incremental difference in what a professional piano tuner might tune the piano to be versus like it's just a machine that kind of does it again, for the most part. And same with like an audiophile. You play an MP3 or a wave, and then you play an Opus or a FLAC or something. No one gives a shit. You can't even tell the difference hardly. And even as someone that, I mean, I know a tiny bit about audio quality, but I really don't care. I can't tell the fucking difference between like a compressed shitty MP3 and like a FLAC. And maybe sure I don't have the sound system, but I mean it's a hobby that costs like 80 grand to get into. So it's not really surprising that no one really does care. But I think it's not the important thing. Isn't that like that's not the point. The point of it isn't the quality of the audio. The point really isn't like piano tuning. The point isn't select whatever weird craftsman thing whole audiophile hole of people you want to go down. It doesn't really matter. And it could be anything. It could be clothes that you could be interested in. The point is excellence in the sense that while this technology might like allow, I'll say like this 80% clip to be more mainstream, again, in some kind of theoretical sense, in the sense that there could be a $2 Android app that would get you 80% of the way there. No one watches like the 80th percentile, NBA, where you get people that like are in the people that you watch are the best of the best, and we want them. I think part of what gives humanity some amount of meaning is pursuing this pure excellence in some sense. And in athletics, it's obvious. Nobody's trying to relegate athletics to. I guess I hope nobody is trying to like automate it into some kind of weird simulated NBA. I guess they already kind of do in some of these games. Like they have entire simulated like seasons. Like if you're the coach or something, why would you want to simulate the whole? Well, the point of the game was to play that. I don't get it. But they have not like these football games where you can simulate entire games. But like, what game are you playing if you're just going to simulate the whole game? I guess I don't know if there's a competitive thing to it, or there's some like you only want to play certain teams, so you just skip weeks or something like that. I don't know. But that's especially stupid. But even so, like something else that would, I guess, automate away a lot of what people take very very seriously is that you would lose the excellence. And the point isn't necessarily like the mechanics of playing this stupid game or having this dumb hobby or anything like that. It's purely we're going after some like higher order excellence, I guess, as a pursuit. And when you invalidate that, and when technology kind of creates, and in my words, kind of archives these artisans, you lose a lot more than just losing like the differences in the piano quality that no one cares about. Because then everyone, like, I guess one of the main sentences in this article was that like nobody knows how bad the pianos really are because there's no one to hear them. And sure, I know there's subjectivity once you get beyond like a certain amount of excellence. Like there's subjectivity between like, oh, who's better, LeBron or Kobe or something like that. But I think the point of this argument isn't the fact that we'll just have no more LeBrons and Kobe's. We'll only have like I don't know, the dude at the Y who's like an ex-military guy who's roided out. Like that would be the equivalent of it. And it won't. I don't think it will happen. It won't happen in sports. And so it's not. That's not really the point of what I'm saying it there. But the point itself is excellent. It's not. It isn't. I know no one cared. I know 99% of people won't care, and even maybe some of the other professional piano tuner or whatever don't care. But I think as we move more towards just kind of archiving these people who've invested deeply into skills and making their skills obsolete, and the Luddites are a perfect example of this. And like, I would you argue that they're wrong? That like we don't have shittier, like we make more clothes now. We have enough clothes to clothe everybody, for God's sakes. Like no one's walking around naked, but they're all crap. I think like no one's like fixing isn't a part of it anymore. You just throw it away and buy another one because it's off Amazon, and who it doesn't matter. There's no quality to like retain. And I've seen this more and more, even just with other like not even stuff, not even tech, anything. People just don't. There's no. The inkling now is just to throw it away and get another one, instead of like there's no amount of like, oh, maybe we should fix this. Like, somebody was like, oh, I one of the legs on this tripod I'm using, because I edit their videos, this tripod I'm using broke. I'm gonna go. Should I buy another one? Like, help me buy another one. I'm like, first of all, what is it completely broken? Did you like snap it in half? And even so, like, isn't there some way to jerry rig it to get it to kind of works the same? I mean, it's not like you didn't smash a monitor through the front of it. You might have partially broke like the clip on one tripod stand. So why the fuck are you throwing away the whole thing? Like it's all trash now. You can even, there's nothing salvageable enough to just throw the whole thing, hunk of plastic in there. And it's not even like I'm not even making an environmental argument. Not to say I don't care about the environment part of it, but it's just, it's waste. And I think part of it should be a good life is to not an excess. So I think an excess of waste is what I'm really against here. And it's not waste for an environmental reason. It's waste for waste's sake. The point isn't we save the environment one tripod leg at a time. No one gives a fuck about that. No amount of saving or reusing tripod legs is going to fix the environment. That's not what I'm saying. The point is to not reduce waste and to it's good enough. You don't have to go buy another one, or even you're not even buying a good tripod either. It's not like your old vintage sound system broke and you got to buy another one. It's like you fix those things. You should fix it. It's not that. It shouldn't be that thing. Something that's not that non-trivial not to fix. So I don't know. It's I guess kind of frustrating as someone that. But at least I sympathize a little bit with people that are artisans that are getting, because like I'm sure whatever skill or something that I develop, I'm sure is going to be useless. Or that's not useless. Again, it's useless in the sense that no one cares about that like top 5% anymore because technology or some kind will give us that 80% of the way there. So it's any more investment beyond just like good enough to get an AI to do it is worth it anymore. So then we kind of lose the art of it. And I think we've noticed that even with like literal art, like paint skills, like the skills with a paintbrush. Nobody has like the same skills that they did, back in the day, real back in the day, because just nobody does it and there's no value to it. No one pays for it. No one cares. That's good enough. You just draw, you can hold a paintbrush between your toes and fucking draw a line and sell for 40 grand, because art is not for art's sake. Art is an investment vehicle. It is now this financialized asset that doesn't have anything to do with anything beyond just how much is this going to hold its value over time. And I don't know. It's just, it's a mess. But we've lost like some literal actual like hands in paintbrush skills, I guess collectively as humanity. And it's not that we couldn't, like those were certainly lost. I think we lost them because we stopped caring about them. So I think part of the duty kind of falls on people individually or collectively or whatever to start caring about, like, again, even if you don't care about the quality of the piano per se, but I care enough about the general concept behind this person investing, so much into their own skill set of like cleaning these old pianos or doing whatever, or tuning it out, to have enough reverence for that as a skill to, not even finance it per se, but just like support it as a thing. And so at some point we'll just lose the ability to like write a fucking email because no one has to do it. So everyone just has ChatGPT write their emails, which again is something I just can't fathom. Like we're going to have just AIs emailing each other, just crap. And I don't know. It's so pointless. Like I even think in communication being instantaneous is kind of a mistake. Like the fact that there's not, like, cause I'm thinking about like, the old days, again, of course, here I am revering the old days, days I wasn't even around for, mind you. So a pre-internet, but pre me, I guess, because I wasn't even pre-internet. But they'd pen a letter. They like open their parchment or some shit. They would take their quill and they'd sit in their lamp and do all this. But it was like this hour long, several, I mean, even perhaps a day long process to write a letter that, is now just like sup. So then like inherently the quality you get between letters is crap. Because I was looking at like Einstein's own letters that he would write, to his math buddies and whatnot. These things are fucking dense with like all like profound, deeply thought, like they thought through everything. I mean, it's like, oh my, like the amount of effort and thought it must have taken in to go into just that one letter. But it's because that you had to do more with less. You only had that one. It wasn't like you could, send like the auto-corrected asterisks behind like, oh no, sorry, I meant this. It's like, no, he had to think very deeply and very intentionally about what he wanted to put in that letter. And then he really, like it was a huge investment of time. So there was a lot more care and thought and quality that went into it. And now it's just because you can text anybody at any point, it's crap. So same with like the emails. I think if you expect like the quality or the importance of emails to improve at all with it being AI, you're an idiot. No, it's just going to be more of like useless, just whatever, like yerps and whatever from fucking people and memes being sent back and forth from emails. It's going to make you want to put a bullet in your head. Like, I don't need to see this email. So I even think somebody proposed, I don't know who proposed this, so I can't even credit them, but they said that email should have had like a 2 to 3 hour like buffer time, where it's like if you send an email by default, it should like wait 2 to 3 hours before it like actually sends. Unless, of course, you mark it like as urgent, which presumably then people will start doing all the time. But I think if I were running some kind of company, I think that would honestly that wouldn't be that too bad of a like, I don't know, like something that we do as a company is like, you can flag, because I mean, even companies that have like Slack and stuff, most of what's being said in there is pointless. And so a lot of the work that people do is just solitary work. And the fact that people have to check their emails and like, like they're worrying themselves over these like trivial, pointless messages. And like, even like the recipient, is somebody going to email me? Like it takes up such a large percentage of the day. Like, that how much time you're wasting with it, how much energy and like, and it also just feels wasteful in the same way, just throwing away the whole tripod, even though you broke just one leg of it. Just even thought about fixing the leg, is it important that all of that, that go like the I don't know, just not being wasteful shouldn't be like, it doesn't always have to be an environmental argument. Or I think there is something about like cleaning up and being, I don't know, just, I guess being polite to like your body and your surroundings and your affairs, your items, whatever you own. Something about being polite of that, it shouldn't just be an environmental thing. Even if somebody that like hated the environment and wanted it all to burn, like I still think there's some kind of innate goodness in being not wasteful, right? Of kind of finishing your plate. So even if you didn't care about anything, there's something about just finishing. Maybe it goes back to that evolutionary period where we'd hunt boar or something. And you have to use every part of the pig, and we'd use something for the skin we'd use for the wrap around the tent, and then we'd use the actual like tooth for something else. I don't know. You'd like make use of every part of it, and I think that's kind of a human thing. And sure, maybe it's something that we can afford to be more wasteful now. It's like I don't even not even from an ecological argument. Aren't things simpler and easier if there's just less crap, like less waste? So I don't know. It's just, I think not being wasteful is a kind of a fundamental human desire, inkling to want to be. And there's just something, I mean, is there anybody that prefers like, I'm not even saying like a messy or a disorganized or like a dirty room, but like, I guess those are all different things, like messy versus organized versus like literally not clean. I don't think anyone like prefers like a legitimate like bacteria-ridden, dirtier room as compared to a clean one. And sure, there's like sort of quote unquote messy organizations that people prefer over like perhaps more minimalistic and clean ones. But I would still make an argument that there's a simplicity to whatever this mess is. I don't know. You see professors who have like this. It looks like a bomb went off in their office, and they're like, "Well, I prefer it this way because everything's at arm's reach." And it's like I don't know that. Would it be better wouldn't it be better just to have one thing on your desk at a time? Everything else is kind of away, out of sight, out of mind. Wouldn't that help you clear your mind a little bit? And I'm not saying they're wrong per se, but I mean, I think a lot of people who really make these great breakthroughs are just brilliant minds, but they're terrible like at organizing their thoughts. And a lot of times they're bad lecturers. They're not good at teaching. They're good at like discovering things, but that's just for their own little stupid mind. They're not good at kind of organizing their thoughts and putting them together in a way that they could share these ideas. Besides, I guess between the other fucking three idiots that understand what the hell they're talking about. But anyway, that's not really my point. Either way, something about not being messy, I think, is a virtuous ideal, and is something that I think is important for people. So I think we should be less messy. I keep getting these. I guess there's just politics stuff going on because I keep getting those fucking spam texts, which, I mean, lock those people up. The people who are sending out spam text, because I don't think that like replying stop or blocking the number or deleting it, reporting it to Apple, reporting it to whoever, the FTC. I don't think doing any of that helps, because I think like the political lobbying here in the United States is still like legal, I suppose, and is like allowed. But it's not even like the messages themselves, because I think at one point, maybe I've been getting these for years too. I think it's a long story with my phone number, but I've been getting them for years. But progressively, the wording has gotten more and more infantile, and it's just gambling infantile. Like the messaging now is the first two words are very rare in all caps, and it's like very rare 500% match for all donations to then whatever the political party is. I think whatever is today is something Democrat today, because I'm getting all Democrat ones today. But but maybe tomorrow is the Republican ones. I get all the Republican ones tomorrow. But it's like very rare 700% match of like donation. I was like, what the fuck? What are we doing? Where is this money even going? I mean, do you get to earmark the donation to do something, or do you have to donate a certain millions of dollars to earmark something? And also, why is that the political system then? Because it's just bartering. If I don't have any money, then why do you even care what I have to say? And it's also like this. There's this proof of work argument with like, I don't know. It's kind of an argument just against voting in general. Is that like theoretically the most informed voter and the biggest idiot in the world have the same like weight in terms of like the decision making. But I think even as somebody that's politically apathetic like me, I wouldn't want any weight on my vote, because I'm not going to vote anyway. But even if I did, I would be like, well, I don't know anything. I don't know what's going on. I don't have any money. I haven't donated to these people. I haven't sucked a single politician's dick. I don't know what the issues are here, and I don't really know what we're fighting for, or who believes in what, or whose hand is in whose pocket, really. And so because of that, I wouldn't really want to ascribe much weight to my vote. And I guess if I could vote, I'd just vote them out, meaning I'd vote the whole thing out. Like, is there a vote for none of them, or maybe a vote on like a random citizen? I think that would be a fun way to do it. Is you'd have every citizen gets to be president for a week, and sure, we have to have like some kind of checks and balances to make sure they didn't like blow everything up. But I don't know, you go week to week, you can make terrible decisions for a week and then get launched out, and then somebody else will come in. I don't know. It's just not really anything that I think is worthwhile. And I don't know, you get shamed, especially because I read the text, unfortunately. So it's always like, our rights are at stake, our civil liberties. And I'm like, the way I look at it is we don't have rights. As any country or city, we don't have any rights. We have like temporary privileges that at any point, any time, for any reason really, with or without notice, they can be revoked from us, and the opposite can be done, for example. So even like a right to live, if you become a big enough government threat, somebody will just kill you. That's not even like, I wish I was being superfluous, or and I realize that also sounds like a conspiracy, but it's like, they will kill you. It's not like if I piss somebody off important enough and I'm enough of a threat, somebody will kill me or throw me in jail forever. There's no like, and there's no right to live or a right to a fair trial. It's like, I know those things make you sound good, or like it feels nice to have that as like, oh, fairness can win and justice triumphs over evil or something like that. It doesn't work like that at all. So I just don't, and that's just, I don't believe that we have these unalienable rights that nobody can. It's like, no, I think most of the time, in order for the government to even keep itself in power, it has to say, well, we bend the knee when we want to, really. Meaning that, in many scenarios, yes, we will let justice prevail, or this vague idea of justice, whatever this is, we'll let this prevail. But ultimately, I think if things get truly dire enough and the government has to choose between its own existence and the quote unquote civil liberties of a citizen, it's just going to kill the citizen because the existence of the government is more important than the rights of this dumbass citizen or a group of citizens per se. If it was a terrorist group of some kind that wasn't doing anything illegal or something like that, the government will just wipe them off the map, because it's the government continue to exist, their own life and their own all of that, versus like the quote unquote rights of these few people. Like nobody from the inside is going to like allow that. And that's just, again, it's just my opinion. I'm not going to pull up a bunch of Wired articles to make my point or something. I don't really care. That's just the way I believe about the political system. So I'm not going to defend it any more than that. You either believe me or you don't. So I think I won't change your mind, but I think eventually the world, after a certain period of time, will change your mind. I guess paying attention and stuff like that. But of course, that also sounds a little snobby to assume that people will have their mind changed at any point, because maybe they won't. And I hope my mind has changed too. My mind, I've even watched some of my old videos, and I'm like, wow, I definitely don't agree with that anymore. And that's part of it. I don't think it has to. The continuity of an opinion, like the fact that I have to have the same opinion over 40 years or 10 years, or even like a month. Why do I have to be so consistent in my opinions? Well, it's important. It's like, really, I think being consistent with your opinions is stupider, because that means what are you doing with this new information? Like, what if you had information that was contrary to your opinion? The consistency then would break it. And the fact that we have so much information now, I think being consistency is a fool's game. Being consistent with what you said is probably one of the dumbest things. The dumbest thing you could do intellectually, but somehow it is smarter if you said the same thing for 40 years. So I don't know that. Why is it bad to change your mind? Isn't that a signal that you've been given new information or things can change? And my mind has changed several times over. I used to defend all kinds of stuff on these dumbass podcasts, but now I have different opinions, and my opinions will change again. But my thinking about I guess the general state of politics is that I have no bearing on changing anyone's mind, but I think. I guess you let the world make you enough of a cynic, you can you begin to, I guess, see through the folly of things being fair. Life is not fair. I just wrote a little blog post on money. My argument was like that money is like we like the abstractions of money because money seems fair. Like, my dollar is the same as Jeff Bezos's dollar. It's not like he has better dollars than me, which in some cases he kind of does have better dollars, because there's like this implicit, Jeff Bezos dollar versus like my dollar. But all the idea of the fungibility of the money is the appealing part, in a sense. It's like all this fair thing. And like a lot of times there's this huge difference between what's fair and like what is good. Like, it's not, is it fair for me to mow my neighbor's lawn for free? No, it's not fair at all. I should be charging him money because it's not a fair exchange, because I'm doing something for nothing. But is it good? Probably, yeah. So that's like a dumb example, but I'm sure you can think of plenty of scenarios where what is good is not fair and what's fair is not good. And I think as more things get kind of taken over by money, and of course it's fair. It's fair. Well, I didn't get that money for free. Why should you? And it's like, I'm not saying it's not fair at all, but it's good. It's like, I'm not arguing that it's fair. It's not fair, but life's not fair. But money seems fair, so money should rule everything. It's like, I don't know that logic should check out. Because while money is fair in some sense, it's not good. No matter what. I think there's lots of cases you can be on their side. I guess I'm not doing great at defending my opinions here, so I should get deeper into the abstract, because I think I don't know. A lot of what I said should be I don't know. Let's see here. I guess this is a very this is a note on stuff I've already covered, but it was just on my list, so I want to get rid of it. I guess there is this like nostalgic kickback, and I know that I don't know, notoriously younger generations are more nostalgic now than ever, and I don't think that generations prior to us were as nostalgic. Like, I'm not sure that boomers were so nostalgic of the silent generation or anyone before that. And I'm drawing lines here, generations, but you could draw lines at years. You could draw lines anywhere. I don't care. The point is, I don't know that people have yearned as much for the past as they did before. Like, even looking at the political campaigns, Trump's whole thing is making America great again, which presumes that there is a point at which America was great, which I'm not going to disagree or disagree with. But the one I thought was funniest was, and I don't know where I even saw this. I think it was a talk of some kind. But it was Germany's political leader was like, Germany but normal, which again presumes that like at one point Germany was normal, but now Germany's like lost its way and it's gone mad or something like that. Which again is kind of nostalgic in some sense. And we've seen this transformation of things that were once options now becoming obligations of sorts. Like it used to be an option to pay with the app, and now you must pay with the app. It used to be an option to pay with a credit card. Now you must pay with a credit card. There's not, and then I think at some point people were like, well, you guys don't even take cash? What do you mean you don't take cash? Isn't the whole thing's built off of like the dollar I'm holding? You don't even take this? I have to pay through the app now? Because I've thought about just launching my phone off and not having one, and saying, well, you guys, I can check email on the computer. I can use Signal Messenger, for the computer and text my friends that way. I don't need a phone plan. I would just be one less thing I have to have. But I just wouldn't. I'm not sure that I'd even be able to participate because what used to be the optionality of having a phone is now this requirement of having a phone. And cars aren't as bad. I think there's a lot of places you don't have to have cars. You don't have to own cars. But in general, like you don't, unless you want to walk like 10 miles or you live in this giant metropolis, you kind of have to have transportation of some kind. And I don't know that public transport in most places isn't good. I've actually gotten robbed on a bus before. But that's not obviously not a whole dash against all of public transport, but it is, a lot of it is a little sketchy sometimes. But things be going from options and maybe perhaps arguably more convenient options to now objectively inconvenient obligations, I think, is what is really pissing people off, and is why Germany and parts of America think that we should go back. Like the fuck, go back. We want to go back. And I think I even think, like I talked about last time, that the internet culture has peaked. I think it peaked. I don't know if culture. I'd actually argue that culture holistically has also peaked. I think the entirety of culture has peaked, and it's beginning to flatten, or at least become more ossified and singular, or maybe not even singular, but more siloed. There's not as much diversity. There's fewer humps on a distribution, or the humps are getting taller in the sense that people identify with a niche very strong. There's not much. There's less individuality now, which is ironic given I guess the original pitch of the internet providing infinite individuality and the ability to express yourself. But there's I think less of that. And again, I don't know, I'm speculating here. I don't know. There's not really, you can't really quantify data. You can't have there's no statistical argument to back any of this. And I think that's kind of the problem that I face in saying any of this, is these are all just vibes. These are vibes. Okay. I don't know for certain that this was happening a certain way, and I can't validate it. Even if I did validate it, how would you trust the data that I get? Where'd I get the data that quantified? And it's like, I think if you want everything to be this like perfect, like to have a mathematical representative data to answer a question is part of the issue. Because we taken things like as nuanced as, I don't know, human psychology, or the sociological, or the relationships and how people interact. And then now it's like, we need data to back this up. So then we create abstractions, we reduce the abstractions to a calculation or an algorithm of some kind. And then we make we make a decision that, again, the data backs it up. So if anyone is like, well, why'd you make this decision? Like, well, the data told me to do this. And versus if you were like, well, the vibes were off, so I did this. And they're like, what do you mean the vibes were off? You're fired. You can't vibe off. Like, no, this is, you can't do that, but ultimately, like, the vibes are off. It's like, I know the data doesn't support this, or we don't even have data. Like, how would you have data on if culture has flattened? How would you measure culture? Like the number of art pieces, the number of patents. The hilarious thing is someone was making an argument on like innovation has like increased, because of XYZ. And I'm like, my first question is like, okay, well, what do you mean innovation? How do they measure? How do you measure innovation? Like, the number of patents. It's like, well, the number of patents doesn't really tell that much of a story. How do you measure the number of patents versus the quality of patents? I have a friend who's in law school. You cannot believe the frivolity and the superfluity of patents that are being. You could have a patent for taking a shit. He says that when he graduates law school, one of his jokes is that he's gonna file a patent. I guess I probably shouldn't say this because in case no one's gonna watch this, he's gonna file a patent for like literally just jerking off, and he's going to get that patented, a specific way to masturbate. I guess it doesn't matter because he's not going to tell you what exactly he's patenting, but he's going to patent, and he's going to get a patent granted for masturbating. Now, is that really innovation? He's doing it. He's obviously doing it as a joke because he knows this entire like patent innovate is a joke. It's a complete fucking joke. So measuring innovation as this vague word, trying to use data, is a dumbass idea. I think if you ask people, I think this is where vibes come in. I think we need vibes to measure stuff like this, but vibes ultimately are never the popular decision making. It's not like you can't, like, you'll just get fired if you say, well, I made this decision based off vibes. It's like, that's just not it. You're fired. Or a CEO that makes decisions based off vibes. It's like, no. That's why, like, people just only get hired from the inside. They only kind of get fired up, is that, like, it's all about de-risking this decision. And the ultimate way to de-risk any decision is to have some kind of empirical data to back it up. Because then you can just say, well, it's not my fault, it's the data. Computer says no, basically. Which, again, is not, again, it doesn't make room for arguments. But I think the point is just that if you say, well, the data told me to do it, there's no real argument. There's not like, well, why did you do that? Is there some kind of intuition? But we've lost it. We've abandoned the human intuition as a decision maker. I mean, we now just kind of kneel to the big data or the machine, which again is flawed. Measuring innovation through number of patents. Again, AI is now spamming patent applications. None of this is innovation. I mean, the number of innovations is not up. I don't care what the fucking, the number of patents filed. It's not. It sucks. It's worse. Like, it's getting worse. So I feel like I don't need to. Again, this is totally a vibes-based thing. I guess you could make an argument otherwise if we want to look at quality of patents or what they're, the patentability of the applicability of new patented technologies. I don't really know. But again, vibes-based, it's no. And that's, I think, where there's this huge dichotomy between, vibes-based things and like this, I guess, data-driven thing. So, like, for example, and this would be a very political, I guess, opinion, but it kind of, I think it illustrates the point or the big juxtaposition between data decisions versus like vibe-based decisions. Is like, people will say that, like, they're like immigration, for example, into the U.S. They're like, well, immigration is at all-time low or something like that. I don't even know what I honestly, I don't know if it's an all-time low or all-time high. I have no clue. I don't know. But then you have people that are like, well, I live in this part of the country, and it's like, but I think the argument here isn't really about anything in particular. There's this, between what the data says and what people feeling are two completely different fucking things. People feel, their city's surrounded by immigrants or something like that. Now the data may or may not agree with that. But it's like, but I think people are too quick to just assume that the data tells the whole story, and then you can't argue with the data, because you can't. It's like, I'm supposed to argue with an algorithm that generated this as the answer. It's like, well, no, I can't, because who am I arguing with? Whose fault is this? Like, nobody. But like, I think that's part of it, is it's de-risking the blame. But people have these long drawn out arguments over immigrants. And because there's a difference between the vibes and the data. I don't know what the data says. Maybe it says it's all-time low or all-time high, but people get their opinions based off the vibes, and vibes like this, vibes are off. So, and again, I think relying too much on data is the problem. Not necessarily, I'm not saying we should all be vibes based. It should be a vibes based economy, but surely we've lost a lot of nuance. Like, the moment we address any nuance with, like, okay, does the number of patents really measure innovation? Or is the length of the patent really determinant of the quality of the patent? No. Okay, like, but the moment we address that nuance, we don't have an answer anymore. We can say, well, I don't know if innovation's gone up or down, but people want these answers so bad that we then have to, like, okay, well, now I have to quantify it. That's really the whole job of the programmer, is to take something that is inherently ridiculously complicated, create kind of rough, loose abstractions to model it using software. Again, knowing that it's not a good model, or not a perfect model. Maybe it's good in some subjective sense, but not a perfect model. And then use that to, like, make decisions or do things or do whatever. I talked about, like, dating as trying to reduce that from, again, what was once a vibes-based thing to purely like an algorithmically generated thing. And of course, someone might argue that it's good, but it's certainly, I think no, it's not. In fact, I would say it's not good. Vibes or other, I don't care what the data says. It's not good. And I don't think anybody should spend any time on it. So I think, I don't know. I've already ripped on that before. I don't want to get killed by these fucking idiots. Let me move on to something else here, because I am done talking about vibes. So you're welcome. Let's see here. Let's see. I have one in the bottom. I guess, yeah, the feeling of being fundamentally underutilized. I think this is just an unfortunate causality of, I guess, culture or society or technology all just advancing so quickly is that I guess especially as kind of a more procedural thinker, I like to break problems down and think about them. I'm less of a I guess in some ways I'm more the other things. I don't really know. Again, I don't know. I'm not going to categorize my type of thinking. I just think. Okay, I don't. The self awareness on that amount of the meta level doesn't really work, and it's kind of a waste of my time. Regardless, there is this kind of unfortunate feeling, and it might be somewhat correlated with just this malaise that I think a lot of people feel, is this feeling of like perpetual and like I don't know chronically or fundamentally like underutilized, just as like your life, like hours that you've wasted in the day, and like kind of thinking that every hour or every second or every moment or even every day or even every week needs to be a meaningful week. Most it's not most of the time. I think there's days and weeks and months go by where really nothing meaningful would happen. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing either. I don't know that we need to maximize utilization. It's difficult because I don't know, we always want to be more and be pushed more, but I think it gives us a very dumb idea of what more even is. And then not only that, but like how do you even get more? I think again, the common wisdom here is that less is more a lot of the times, but it's hard to internalize that and really, I guess, take that and make that mean something. To be, it's not to say it's okay to just sit on your ass and watch Netflix forever, because I'm obviously a huge anti that. But surely there's some middle ground between, I guess, just like feeling, I don't know, deep existential malaise from feeling underutilized, to actually, I don't know, having any kind of decent conception of what being better or improvement of some kind looks like. And the time horizon, I think, is one big problem with that, in the sense that we can count minutes, we can count days, we can count seconds, we can count hours. This all creates these weird, like, we have to like itemize it. Because I talked about last time that I've tried like many different strategies on how to like itemize my day and my time to, again, I'll say, get the most out of my day. Or I've tried slicing it up a lot or slicing it up not at all. And I found very, very, very difficult to even obey my own commands for slicing up the time or really anything. But because I'm left in this situation where, well, I could have utilized that more, or I didn't accomplish what was on the list, even though it seemed all reasonable from the outset. Mostly because I don't know what's going to happen. Unexpected things come up, and all of a sudden I'm busy and don't get something done, or maybe somebody sends me an email, I have to respond, or I want to write an email, but there's not. And since I don't build that in, and even if I did build it in, let's say I build in 6 hours a day of like, let's do like wasting time. I'll just call it that. Maybe this could be reading a book, or writing an email or something like that. That could be this kind of inbuilt waste of time. I would still struggle not to believe that I would still feel underutilized at the end of that day, even if I'd known and I had expected 6 hours of wasting my time. It's just this chronic feeling of like I could have done more, because it's all retrospect, really, and it all is because there's a number associated with everything, with the time and seconds of the day and of the hour. It creates, I guess, that kind of internal tension. And so I guess to alleviate that, or even just to address it, or even begin to think about it, I thought about what if I did like went the whole day without, like how long can I go without a clock? And obviously I can look at the sun going up and down. I wouldn't lose track of the days. The point wouldn't be to lose all sense of time whatsoever, but it would be less to start thinking less about the individual minutes and hours and seconds of a given day. Even the concept of a day shouldn't really matter. Even like, I guess if you got really broad, it could be like seasons or years wouldn't matter, because they don't really. Like, you step outside, is there a sun that tells you what year it is or what day it is, or is it Monday? Look outside and look at the sun and tell me what day it is. Like, you might know what day it is, but it doesn't matter the conception's only within us. And I think that's part of why we have this chronic feeling of feeling underutilized, is that we're constantly bombarded. Well, it's Tuesday, it's a Wednesday, you gotta do this. And it's like days of the week, there's 2 weeks left in September. It's like, but the sun doesn't know what September is. Not to say that we should live according to this, but I think it is very unnatural for us to have this fixation with, again, these arbitrary segments of time and getting things done. And this will only take 2 hours. Like, just stop thinking about hours and seconds and all of that entirely. I think that would, I don't know, help us slow a lot of things down. Because I don't think moving any faster at this point is helpful. I mean, faster in any sense, like technologically, is it really helpful? I think, this was a talk I saw by some English guy, I don't know, but there's a, like in your car, there's a speedometer that tells you how fast you're going. But there's, in some cars, there's, not all of them, but sometimes some cars, there's a paceometer, which tells you like how many minutes at that speed it would take you to go like 10 miles or something like that, some distance. And it's a counter. It's not really counterintuitive because it, I guess if you're good at math, it obviously makes sense. But like the difference between 20 and 40 is obviously it takes you half as long to get there because you're going twice as fast. But then like the difference between like 60 and 80 is not 2x. It's like 20% or something like that, or 25%. So again, even as you go faster, it's like you're not really shaving that much time off. That's why, like, I think the analogy that this guy used, and I'm stealing his quote and his whole paceometer thing, was that even if you are gunning it somewhere, like if you're 10 minutes late and you're flying down the highway at like 90 miles an hour instead of your usual 70, you're not really going to shave that much time off because again, you're not doubling your speed. You're only going up by 20. And while doubling your speed from 20 to 40 makes a huge difference, once you get to like 70, it's not going to make that much of a difference unless you're going 140. Which again, it was an even dumber idea. That's not the answer to the parable. It's not, oh, we'll go 140 or go 280. It's like my Corolla's not going to go that fast. But even so, the point is that going at even at this breakneck pace, going 10 miles an hour faster once you're already going 100 miles an hour isn't good. And I argue with the amount of technology we have out and abundant now, is it important to keep going faster and faster and faster? For what? Why are we doing this exactly? Who are we? Who's winning right now? I mean, not me. So I don't know. I'm just not. I don't really view it as this big bad, mean, heretical thing to say. To be like, I don't think that we need to be. I don't think accelerating any faster is a good idea. Not even for economic, social, culture, any kind of reason. I have no rationalization against any of them. I don't know why any of them would be. I don't know. I don't agree with it on any front. Is what I meant to say. Didn't articulate that very well. I'm not feeling very articulate today, so hopefully it doesn't sound that bad. But it is kind of a weird time for me to be recording this. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I talked about the no point of being art, fundamentally underutilized, social acceleration. Yes, I've talked about all of that. Yeah, I guess I just have this word on here. I thought this was hilarious. Again, this is not my original word. Somebody, I think it was the Luddite, that it was his blog I follow, but he dubbed this word called consumerism, which is just like, I don't know, people that sell us stuff, just like, again, are again, in kind of a roundabout, weirdly logical, but kind of not wrong way, is cucking us into doing stuff. Everybody that it's so manipulative now. That's why I'm so much against advertising. It's so manipulative in its messaging and its assumptions about not only like the humans themselves, but just about human psychology and what it's very, very low opinions of humans. And I tend to, I guess, despite all my cynical musings, tend to have a brighter outlook on like at least the potentiality of humans. And maybe that's why I end up so jaded. Maybe if I had a lower opinion of the peak of humanity, like if I believed humans were really just like more or less retarded monkeys with penises running around like fucking and sucking stuff, then sure, maybe if I had that low of opinion of humans, then maybe I wouldn't feel that bad selling B2B SaaS software that ties your shoes for you or whatever it is that's supposed to do. I don't know. But I think because I have this higher opinion of humans, I don't know. I wish that people wanted more for themselves. And the unfortunate part is that it's not that they can't have more for themselves, that they don't even want it. I was speaking today about parents and blocking time off for their kids. Like you can set up firewall rules to like block Twitter and block Facebook. And I was like, yeah, I think I could go around to different parents' households, and if kids are having trouble like focusing on, maybe like homeschooled parents or something like that, they're having trouble getting their kids to focus, I could go on and I could block like the TLDs and stuff that were causing their parents to waste time. Or you could set up like they have parental controls on iPhone and stuff like that. Now I don't know anything about that, but it's true, I assume. But I was like, that's not the fundamental issue. Isn't that they're doing that? Is that they want to? Is that they would rather do nothing less than to sit on their phone and stare at TikTok all day? And they're like, and one argument is like, well, the kids are just going to grow out of it. No, they won't. Look, you should go hang around a 30-year-old millennial who still goes to Star Wars conventions, and they're spending 12 hours a day on their phone. They don't grow out of it. They're like, it's like but it's the perfect consumer as a baby, because they just go, I want that. And it's just, I mean, consumerism is kind of a different idea, I think, it's not, but they're more or less just like, I guess people are remaining children forever. And it's like, I wish I could say that the kids would just grow out of wanting to go on TikTok all day if we just block all. But the point, and sure, maybe it's like this authoritarian answer as just blocking the domains is a good solution to start. But ultimately, the underlying problem is that they want to. How do you get somebody to not want to do that? And unless that motivation comes from internal, comes from themselves, I don't really know how you convince a porn addicted 13-year-old to like not want TikTok or porn. Really, I mean, how do you get them not to want it? You know, you can scare them out of it temporarily. You can, again, block it so they literally can't have it. And my hope is kind of that you get them more interested in something, you know, that I'll say is more quote unquote productive. And I would say productive, something is more useful of their human abilities. Like, I think humans should try to do cool, unique, and interesting things that humans can do. And we can use computers to make other stuff that humans can't do, or that humans think is cool and is an amendment to us. But ultimately, like, we should, I guess I'll blow this up too. But humans should be doing something that humans are capable of. Humans, and kind of only humans, are capable of doing, and that is, I don't know, interesting or useful in some sense. But like, you could get a computer to watch TikTok, a monkey to watch TikTok, a dolphin or something. I don't think is it the peak of humanity to be like kind of drugged out, laying on a couch and staring at something moving? Is that really what humans, like, their full potential to me? No, I think humans have so many other things they could be doing. Like, I mean, even something as silly as just doing gymnastics or something, or playing a sport, or writing a book or something. And these aren't necessarily impressive things in and of themselves. And the point isn't necessarily to have written this great book but the point is just the process of writing the book, and the process of trying to get good at gymnastics, or the process of trying to get good at a sport. All of that is like kind of the journey itself is its own reward. And if you think in this very atomic way, you can kind of lose that as the beauty of what humans can do. But I don't know how to motivate a child, for example, to want something greater for themselves. You know, part of the strategy might be to expose them to other things, and then hope they kind of latch onto something. But that's not really what's more, you know, enticing than porn, really, to a 13-year-old. Probably nothing. So I don't know. I don't know. I think my issue here is I get too analytical about it, and I also get too problem solving about it. Like, I want to solve the problem. I really think, and this is bad, but I really just think the answer is for me to fucking just joke about it and laugh about it. And it's not that I'm like sitting here like enjoying the popcorn as the Titanic sinks, but in some ways it kind of is. And maybe if I can choose comedy or humor in some ways as my own art form, that will let me find some kind of a path out of it. Otherwise, you end up just sounding like this begrudging old man. Oh, these damn kids are, you know, all they want to do is watch porn all the time. But it's like, I don't know, maybe I don't know, maybe making them feel bad about themselves through making jokes about them is part of the answer. So, no, I'm just kidding. I do not mean to kids for the most part. Anyway, let's see what else is on here. Anything else that is on my my list here? I could wrap this up today. I guess this is the last thing I'll talk about. The problem with people being like too nice by default now. They have this, like, I don't know. There's this. I kind of talked about the LA no before. Like, I don't know. Not that I've never even lived in LA or know that people know that many people from LA, but it's just like they give very like kind of HR boxed responses to everything, and it's like, well, you know, there's a lot going on and it's difficult, and you know, it's like, you know, like, not saying, well, can you just spit out whatever the fuck you're saying? Like, I want the New York no, not the LA no. But and I think they're just trying to be default nice and trying to sound very, very nice, but like whatever they're saying, the tone of voice are not matching. So it's often this like very weird, like, did that guy just call me a dick and smile at me? You know, it's like a weird kind of, it's weird in that, in some in some vague sense like that. But you know, my problem is that especially if it's in a relationship, like the other day, like my the person who owned my property came in and was like, "Oh, how's the apartment? Is everything great?" but like my issue is asking if everything is great assumes that everything is great. And if I were to go against that, I would be kind of violating this social construct that like everything is great because you start off with such this pleasant tone, and I feel like I'm insulting you if I'm like, well, no, everything's not great. Like this door doesn't even shut. It's leaking. There's all these problems. There's oil all over the floor. Which is just gross. It's like, no, not everything's great. But like, because you like preface this entire interaction with this big like toothy smile and isn't everything great, I now have to like break the bad news to you and feel like a dick when I say, well, no, can we fix this fucking door and the oil on the ground? Like it's not, but it's like, I don't know. That's why I try to be very, very default neutral, and especially in scenarios where I could be expecting negative feedback. I wouldn't say, well, isn't this pizza great? But like, no, instead you ask, how's the pizza? Or even say like, I even think asking, did you like the pizza is wrong, because did you like the pizza? Well, they have to say, no, I didn't like the pizza. If you say, how is your pizza? They can answer anyway. They could say good. That could be very neutral. They could say, it was okay. They don't have to say, no, I didn't like it. So I think like prompting somebody for like a default, like you have to be negative in order to give any feedback is another, I guess, just a very, very small social issue that I have beef with, of course, because that's my whole shtick is to shit on stuff. But yeah, I think just being too default nice is problematic on some levels, because again, especially in a relationship where you may be looking for constructive feedback. Like if I was the pizza maker, I wouldn't ask, oh, wasn't the pizza wonderful, or how much did you love the pizza? It's like 0. The pizza was bad. It was bad pizza. I don't want. Why wouldn't you just ask me how was the pizza instead of like, wasn't it great? That kind of I guess don't frame it that way. So I think the importance is in framing feedback. If you're looking for feedback of any kind, or even just expecting possible feedback, you can't frame it positive first and then expect them to be negative and be a dick. So I don't know. That was my beef on being default nice, because I had to crack the LA happy smile of the person when I wanted them to get this oil off my fucking floor and the stop the leaky door or whatever. Anyway, I'm done. What a terrible banter. I'm sorry if you're expecting something better today, but that's it for me. Peace out.